Hello and welcome to No Expectations Video Store, Cutting the Cult Edition, and happy frickin' Halloween, guys. It is Halloween 2024. If you're watching in the future, happy Halloween year-round. As horror movie fans and just as people who love the season, this is like what it's all about. This is like the episode that I feel like the whole month and in some ways the whole year kind of builds up to. Like this is the one that I'm like most excited about. And yeah. It's midnight right now. We're recording this. Like we're really like in the trenches of spookiness. And yeah, today we're talking about 1941's The Wolfman.
The Wolfman.
Starring Lon Chaney Jr., Evelyn Ankers, Claude Rains, and Bela Lugosi, and a few other familiar and not so familiar faces. But yeah, this was directed by...
Who was it directed by?
George Wagner.
George Wagner.
And it was also written by Kurt Siodmak. I hope I'm saying that right. Kurt, I'm sure he is long gone, but Kurt Siodmak is the writer. Yeah, directed by George Wagner. And yeah, man, I hadn't watched The Wolfman since I was a little kid. Like I want to say like probably 9 or 10. And I've always been a fan. We've always been big fans of the Universal Monsters, but I, for whatever reason, had not watched this in a very long time. The most recent Universal monster movies I've watched within the last like 5 years or so have been Invisible Man and Creature from Black Lagoon, but aside from that,
it's Frankenstein.
Oh, Frankenstein
and Bride and Frankenstein.
There you go.
This one, I honestly don't know if I actually ever seen this when I was younger. I've known the character. I know what he wears. I've seen the outfit and everything. I had the toys from Jack in a Box.
He's a wolf. He's a man.
A little picture of that up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just watched this. I believe. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, I watched this yesterday.
Same.
Short movie. Was it hour and 9 minutes?
Hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good.
It was fun. And the thing about that too is like I was talking to my dad about it. I watched with my dad, which was kind of fun because he loves the Universal Monsters too, and he grew up watching them as a kid, which is crazy because these movies are so old. It's like you forget. Like my dad, who's 64 years old, grew up watching this as a little kid. It's like these movies have been a part of so many people's lives for such a long time, and
timeless.
Yeah, they are timeless, absolutely. But he was saying it was kind of funny. He was like, I remember rewatching Frankenstein. It was lame, and he was like saying how lame the movies were. And in a way, I get it. Like I get where he's coming from. Like they are more boring compared to modern movies. But you kind of got to remember.
I try to put myself. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, you're fine.
I try to put myself like in that time era.
Of course, yeah.
You have to, because it is like I agree with your dad a little bit. I'm like,
yeah. A little boring. Yeah,
boring. They could be a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I know like for its time, like. This was probably like amazing,
Of course. And what was interesting about these movies, like The Wolfman, the original Mummy, the original Frankenstein, Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, all the Universal monsters, Invisible Man, you got to think of it almost like a student film. Like if you go back and you watch like early stuff, it's like the expectations are different, the budgets are different, the resources are different. And sure, they had amazing special effects and really elaborate sets and stuff, but for the time. And also, they were kind of the first of their kind to ever do that. You didn't have a whole history of movies. I keep banging into something back here. Do you hear it?
One of the Funko Pops.
Oh, one of the Funkos? My bad.
You're fine.
I'm going to scoot forward a little bit. Sorry, guys. You can cut that or you can keep it. I don't care.
I'll keep it.
But anyway, sorry, Funko. I think I was crushing Master Chief.
You were crushing Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, Courage. We love Courage. Big fan of Courage. Muriel. Stupid dog.
The things I do for love.
The things I do for love.
What a masterpiece. Have you seen, side note, have you seen the videos of that video game that someone made of Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Yeah, when
it looks so good. I mean, I know it's like independently funded, but it looks sick. Anyway, back to the Universal Monsters. Basically, you just got to figure like at that point in time, you had silent era movies and talking pictures weren't really that like old at that time. Like they had just been doing it for a while. So this was like the stepping stones. They were just figuring things out. So you really got to give these movies a hard pass, not like a hard pass of like not watching them, but you got to give them a pass for like being, beginners. They were beginners, you know? So I love these movies. I have a special place in my heart for the Universal Monsters, and there's just something so cool about them,
What was your like introduction? Like which Universal movie was like your first Universal monster movie that you watched?
Good question. The first one that comes to mind as a kid is The Mummy, and I've always been a huge fan of the 1999 Brendan Fraser movie, as you are as well. That's like, in my opinion, that's the best Universal monster movie because it's an action adventure. You get a few of the scares, and it's like that's what we grew up with.
Yeah,
so
especially with like Indiana Jones too. We like love that, and so that was like that just felt like an Indiana Jones adventure.
Absolutely. So I'd say for me, really, 1999 Mummy was the first one. And then out of the love of the 1999 Mummy, I wanted to watch the original. And being like, you know, a 7-year-old kid watching it, I was greatly disappointed because it was slow and it was boring in comparison. And honestly, the best part was probably the first 15, 20 minutes. And when you get to see him and all Boris Karloff and all the creepy makeup, because as time goes on, you know, I don't know if Boris Karloff was also Imhotep, but he, you know, regenerates back to like a normal person. So as it goes on, he just looks like Frankenstein because it's the same actor who played Frankenstein.
He did a few of them, right? Boris Karloff was like the monster guru.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of them. He was almost the Wolfman, fun fact, but he turned it down because he was busy working on something else.
I almost did that for my alternate cast. I'm like, it's too obvious.
Yeah, too obvious. But so I would say my first one was The Mummy 99, and then the Boris Karloff, like whatever it was, 1933 or 32, a Mummy, and then Creature from the Black Lagoon, then Frankenstein. I don't think I've ever watched Dracula all the way through.
I don't think I've ever watched Dracula all the way through either.
Yeah.
I know we want to watch the, you said it was the Spanish version?
Yeah. I'd like to watch both and do a comparison.
That would be fun.
Which I think would be sick. But yeah, to answer your question, Mummy. And Mummy to this day is still my favorite.
Yeah, Mummy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do love the Wolfman. Like I said, I watched Wolfman roughly around that time. Maybe I was a little bit older. But, you know, then I never watched it again. Like it had been such a long time, but I've always liked the Wolfman. I love the idea of them. I love like the posters and the art and the makeup, and I love the toys, you know, that they have. It's like I love everything around it, like the whole like the idea of the Universal monsters.
Yeah, what I like about Universal monsters in general is just they're monsters. We're not getting like supernatural. We're not getting the ghosts. We're not getting demons. Really, like I love the whole fact. Like okay, it's just like a wolf scratches a guy and he just becomes a werewolf. A bat bites someone and he's a vampire. You know? It's like something simple. Like they're monsters. Don't have to deal with like another ghostly figure.
Exactly.
Which is everything now. Like everything.
And it was also the first, like how the MCU is now, like the Universal Monsters were the first ones to do that, where it's like, oh, we got something going on here. It's like they had Frankenstein, then they're like, okay, Dracula, then the Mummy, then the Invisible Man. And like they started cashing in on the idea. And it's like they were the original Avengers. You know what I mean?
They tried to do that, I guess a couple years ago with Tom Cruise.
Dark Universe.
They tried and it failed, but now they're doing it again.
Yeah.
We got the first one was Invisible Woman, really.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do the Leigh Whannell, the Wolfman.
Oh, very excited.
I'm pretty excited.
And we're getting Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, yes, that's true. Is that Universal, though? I don't think it's Universal.
Good question. I don't know, actually.
No, because Nosferatu, they didn't have the rights to Dracula.
So that's why they got Dracula. They made Dracula. Interesting. Yeah, Nosferatu, I could be wrong. We'll have to do a little fact checking here, but I think when this new one comes out in December on Christmas, I think it'll be 100 years since the original came out, which is actually pretty badass. Cool. But yeah, love the Universal Monsters. I'm so, I wasn't planning on the Wolfman being our Halloween movie, but like, who better than an original Universal monster? And yeah, Lon Chaney, man, badass.
I want to go back to the monsters real quick.
Yeah, please.
Another great one. I think you agree too. Directed by Stephen Sommers as well as The Mummy, Van Helsing.
Love Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, Kate Beckinsale.
I was just listening to a podcast on the way over here talking about Van Helsing, and they were kind of crapping on it a little bit, and I personally loved it.
I love it.
I think it was a blast. I loved it as a kid. I had a Van Helsing toy. I saw it in theaters. I loved it.
The special effects for that movie is way better than some special effects today. Especially for wolf transformation. It's sick. It's really good.
Yeah, I love Van Helsing. I don't care what anyone says. I like the booby vampires. I think it's fun. I think it's a good time. But you got Kate Beckinsale in there. You got Hugh Jackman in his prime. Like, I mean, I always love Hugh, but like he was like, X-Men 2, Hugh Jackman at that point.
I always wanted another one, but I just didn't do as well.
I think it could have used a trilogy.
It could have.
It was really amazing.
I loved it. Yeah,
it was so cool. I love the whole opening in the black and white with the windmill and everything. And I haven't watched it in years. That's just off memory. Like I haven't watched it in probably...
You have every monster in there. You have Dracula, you have Frankenstein, you have Wolfman, you have all of them in there.
If you would have done... And James loves this. This is his favorite part right here. If you were to do a Van Helsing trilogy, what direction would you like to see it take for the second and third? You don't have to get super specific, but just like, what would you like to see explored? And let's say he did it I'm thinking that was like 2004, 2005 was the first one, right? So let's say you get like a 2008 one and like a 2012 one. Like, what would you like to have seen?
That'd be kind of tough. Like, what would you touch on? Because he did Face Off. That so who would he I do want to see I want a sequels, but I don't know how you would approach that.
I think you'd have to do almost like like a fish out of water story, like where Von Helsing is like out of his element, like he has to go on some journey or something, and then he encounters like a creature from the Black Lagoon type thing, where like he goes into like totally out of his element, like on some journey.
I was thinking
something.
maybe like a little bit more like Brothers Grimm, like, or you get like Hansel and Gretel up.
Oh, he teams up with somebody.
Something like that, yeah.
That'd be cool. Also, one that would be cool would be him doing like out of this country, like where I don't want to do full Mummy, but maybe he has to go to like Dracula's castle for something, and like he gets locked in with like a group, like almost like the Haunting type situation, but it's like old school, and there's all the catacombs under the.
That'd be cool. The catacombs would be cool.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know, just spitballing, but yeah, big fan of Von Helsing. I'd be down to actually review that at some point. Like super fun.
Add it to the list.
Super fun. See if I can find my Von Helsing toy somewhere. Yeah, but yeah, there's just something about these, man. And some of you guys might remember, if you're old enough to remember, Universal Studios used to have a haunted walkthrough that you'd go through, and it was Universal Monster themed.
Yeah.
And there'd be a point where, Norman Bates would jump out at you dressed up like Mother from Psycho.
They had everyone. They had Chucky in there too.
Everyone was in there. It was so sick.
They had, like, before you even go into the actual attraction, there's like the waiting line, and you have like props from the original movie. I think we've talked about this before, like previously, like the Thing and the
Thing,
chest bursting and everything. It's really cool. It's so sad that they got rid of that.
Yeah, what a waste. I love Universal Studios, but huge missed opportunity. That's something like they need a haunted house year round, and they very easily could do it.
What did they turn that into? I know like it was like Walking Dead or something, but like,
last time we went, it was just I think a gift shop. Like they like fully replaced it with like just a gift shop.
We're getting like the whole dark universe though, like as a theme park.
I hope they do it well. I hope they do it well. It makes me want to go to Florida just for that, like specifically for that. Oh, not anytime soon, but maybe in about 2 years or maybe a year. Excuse me. But yeah, man, huge fan of that. And the only thing I don't remember represented in that was Creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't remember any. It would have been cool to have a swamp scene in there.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't really. If you think about any of the newer movies or nothing, they've never really made any newer ones of him.
No.
Nothing. Like,
no, I mean, the closest we got was probably, and I never even watched it, in the 80s, Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing, yeah.
Which I'd love to watch. Might be a good one to add to the list. But yeah, Creature from Black Lagoon, man, the Gill Man. He's like a favorite. Like he's like a top 5 Mount Rushmore.
The Gill Man.
The Gill Man, yeah.
That was just, I don't think I've ever seen Creature from Black. Maybe I have.
Really?
I feel like no. It's
a fun one.
It's just been a long time because I remember going to Blockbuster as a kid. I rented all of, like the
originals,
ones. Yeah, and I had the toy of this one as well. Like I think it's somewhere still boxed up.
Yeah.
Then you press his belly, it squirts water out of his mouth.
I have that one too. Yeah. I would say of the actual Universal monster movies, like the actual, in my opinion, best quality ones, Creature from the Black Lagoon is probably the best because it was the newest. It was done in the 50s. Also, the last Universal monster to pass away. He just passed away like a year ago.
Really?
The guy who did the underwater scenes.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, they were two different guys. There was a guy who did the land scenes and a guy who was an expert diver who ended up working on Flipper and a bunch of stuff.
Flipper.
And he was like a young dude. He was like 20 or something at the time, and he lived a long time. So shout out to him. But I have to look up his name. All right, so the Gillman water scenes were done by Rico Browning, R.I.P. Rico Browning, legend. But yeah, I would say the best quality Universal monsters, I would say Creature from Black Lagoon, The Invisible Man, and then I would say, I don't really remember much of the original Mummy. I remember it being kind of slow, but visually it looked cool.
It's hard for me.
So I'll say Mummy.
It's hard for me for that too because the only ones I really watched recently last year was both Frankenstein's and Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I love those ones. Bride of Frankenstein I love a little bit more, even though she doesn't show up until like near the end.
Yeah.
Wolfman, as I don't know if it's up there. I enjoyed it. We're gonna be touching on it in a bit.
Yeah.
Dracula, I just know scenes. Like we said, I don't really remember watching it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it in its entirety.
I don't remember Mummy. I think the only ones I really watched is just the Frankenstein series. Invisible Man, you've been always telling me to watch it.
It's a great one.
I haven't watched it. I know the special effects are like amazing. And
for the time, they're incredible.
Yeah, I think I just have top 3s right now. It's just Bride of Frankenstein, and
there you go.
Wolfman for right now.
Wolfman, there you go. Cool, man. Yeah, you definitely got to watch Invisible Man. Invisible Man for the time. Like, you look at it now, it's easy to rip apart anything because it's like, you have this whole history of cinema to look back on. But at that time, considering people were going from the silent era and they were just a couple years into doing anything with special effects, The Invisible Man is remarkable. Like, it's really cool. One thing I'd like to get into, getting back to 1941's The Wolfman, we got to talk about how stacked this cast was for the time. So you got Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. You've got Claude Rains playing his dad, who was the Invisible Man.
Is that who it was? Okay.
He voiced the Invisible Man.
Okay.
And then later on, he did the colorized version of the Phantom of the Opera, Claude Rains.
Oh.
And then Bela Lugosi played Bela, who gets killed by the wolf first.
Dracula.
He's also Dracula.
Yeah. So
So you had Dracula, the Phantom of the Opera, the Invisible Man, and the Wolfman all in the Wolfman movie
it's funny
together.
because his as a sidekick, Bela Lugosi, his name was Bella.
Yeah.
Which was like, oh.
And originally he wanted to be the Wolfman, but he didn't get the part. And so they still put him in the movie just to have like a horror icon in there.
It was like literally for both of them, like Boris Karloff and Bella. I was like choosing back and forth for alternate casting.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. I'm like, they're already monsters. Like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to.
And what's cool is I was reading that Lon Chaney Jr. went on to do a whole bunch of other stuff. He played Frankenstein at one point, or Son of Frankenstein. He played Dracula at one point. He played everybody else at some point.
That's what I like about the monster movies in general. Like, they just stuck with the actors.
Yeah.
Literally just stuck in that genre.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
fun.
like, it's cool. Like, they get to play every single role. Like,
Yeah.
it's neat. I like it.
And what's cool is Lon Chaney Jr., his dad, Lon Chaney Sr., was the original Phantom of the Opera in the silent film.
Did not know that.
So his dad was the OG Phantom of the Opera, and he passed away in like 1930.
Nepo baby again.
Nepo baby. And Lon Chaney Jr. went on to have quite the prolific film career. He lived to be 67. He died in 1975, I believe. And he was working up until like, or it was either 73 or 75 he passed away. But his like last movie credit, I think, was like 1971. Like he was working actively until the 70s. Really? He was in a bunch of horror films, a bunch of Westerns. Like he was a super, super prolific actor. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't really know much. I knew the name. I didn't really know much of him.
Yeah, I saw
I didn't watch a lot of old
Welcome
movies
to
back then. I mean, the only older movies I would watch were probably just like James Stewart movies.
Exactly. Yeah. For that time, we were talking about that. Like, we were having a hard time with the recasting because I don't watch a lot of, movies from the 40s. Mm-hmm. The only ones I could think of are like It's a Wonderful Life and It's a Wonderful Life and It's a Wonderful Life.
Harvey.
And Harvey, of course. Harvey.
Most of Hitchcock movies.
Hitchcock, but a lot of those were in the 50s, you know? But yeah, man. So what can I say about this movie, man? It was fun to revisit it. Very short movie, hour and 9 minutes, but very well done. Like I said, once you kind of forgive it for the era that it was made, it was very groundbreaking.
I like it. It was mainly like 3 sets, right? Like, so I would say it was in the town, out in the woods, and then in his mansion.
Yes.
So one thing I didn't understand. So his dad, that was his dad, right?
Claude Rains.
Claude Rains.
It took me a while too because they looked so close in age.
Close in age. I was
It should have been someone a lot older.
a lot older.
Yeah. Claude Rains, I thought, was like, a year or two apart from him. Like that was kind of weird.
At first, I thought it was like his butler or something, and then
It would have made more sense if they made him like brothers.
Well, didn't they talk about he had a brother?
I don't remember.
I don't know. He came back in town for some reason. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall. You know what was interesting though, when they did wasn't it 2010 version of the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro?
I liked that one. Slow too, but I liked it.
I was 50-50 on it. It was all right. But Benicio looks a lot like Lon Chaney Jr. Like they look similar. They have like the deep circles under the eyes and kind of like a similar face. There's something about him.
Maybe that's why they picked him.
Maybe. But yeah, interesting. A lot of the fun facts on the hair on the Wolfman was yak hair, like from an animal. The yak,
Yak.
the yak.
What was the fact that you told me that you texted me was the fact the wolf that attacked him in the beginning was the dog, right?
Yes.
Mixed with a guy in a costume and
a prop wolf head.
Prop wolf head.
And then the trainer of the dog there, it was like a studio dog, like a dog for stunts and, a dog that they would use around the studio. Lon Chaney Jr. loved this dog. He's a big animal lover, and his heart just went out to this dog, and he fell in love with this German Shepherd and actually adopted him. And the dog's name was Moose, and he lived with him for another 3 years until Moose unfortunately passed away. But Lon Chaney Jr. adopted the German Shepherd.
Yeah, I saw something completely different. He bashed it in his head.
Oh, and killed it.
Yeah, I killed it in the movie.
But he adopted the wolf that bit him. Which is fun, which is very
nice.
cool.
That's cool.
And there's pictures of them together too. If you look up, the Wolfman and Moose together, you see pictures of them hanging out.
Funny. A lot of actors do want to do that a lot. Like I know, I think it was Will Smith for I Am Legend. He wanted to adopt the dog that played the German Shepherd, Sam.
Really?
Yeah, but they said no.
Oh, that's too bad. And I heard Dorothy, what's her name? Judy Garland wanted to adopt Toto, but they wouldn't allow it. The owner was too attached. Yeah, which is great. But yeah, I did really enjoy this movie. Like I said, it's, it had some slow going parts. I think had it been an hour and a half movie or a 2 hour movie, I would have gotten really bored. But considering what it was darn near perfect for the time. It's like they were figuring things out. They were figuring out special effects. They were figuring out the makeup, and it was
transitions.
It was cool, man. The transition was fun. Very basic, very very rudimentary. Nothing like an American Werewolf in London or anything like that. But you got to figure that was what 40 some odd years later. When
I like the design of the Wolfman. He's literally a wolf and a man. Like
he's a classic.
He's not like an actual like werewolf looking like you see in most movies.
Yeah, he's a man.
Think of Underworld, like they're lichens. Like you literally see like a big tall wolf. But in here, like no, he's like just a guy with bearded hair on him.
One thing I would have liked to have seen is every time he turns into the Wolf Man, he's always wearing like that janitor outfit. Like he's never in a suit and tie like he is when he's Larry Talbot.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, he's like always wearing like the janitor suit when he turns into.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen the wolf wearing a suit and tie, and like the tie kind of torn and tattered. Almost like turning into the Incredible Hulk or something. But they didn't. That was kind of a missed opportunity. That would have been sick. But probably easier for the costume department. I don't know. But yeah, super, super cool movie, man. But yeah. What else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about some fun facts?
No, before we do that, let me ask you, because we talked about vampires.
Sure.
So you always throw me these hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Which one would you rather be if you had to choose in the world, like being the monster, vampire or werewolf?
Am I immortal in both? Like, do I never die?
No. Werewolf, so vampires, you can live forever. Werewolf, you don't, because typically werewolves don't live forever.
Interesting. Obviously, like, I feel like you'd kind of be in your own hell of not being able to die and being immortal because you'd see everyone around you die and everything. So that would be kind of horrific, actually. It'd be cool if everyone with you was together. That might be kind of fun.
If you can just buy a couple of your friends if you want.
Okay. But then you see like everyone go and you're still here 1,000 years later. That's kind of horrible. Like, personally, I'd pick vampire, but when you take in the immortality aspect, I'd pick werewolf because then you can be normal 29 days out of the year.
Yeah, my whole thing about being a werewolf,
out of the month.
Like if I had to choose in like a movie universe, I would do like Underworld, like being a hybrid.
Yeah.
Werewolf and vampire, but the transformation for werewolves are just painful.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's the only problem being a werewolf. Like
if we're talking being in a movie, like, do you want to be cast as a vampire? Do you want to be cast as a werewolf? I think I'd probably pick vampire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no, being a vampire, not in a movie, just in general.
Probably werewolf because I don't know if I'd want to live for all eternity.
I think it's hard to choose, but I think I would do vampire, but I would only want to live for maybe 300 years. I wouldn't want to.
We can. Yeah, if we can do that. If I can live for 1,000 years and I know eventually I'll die, sure, I'll be a vampire.
Yeah, you can just do whatever you want, man. Just walk in the sun.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah, you know what? I'll go vampire.
But you will never get to see the sun ever.
That's fine. I'm already halfway there. Yeah. But yeah, let's do some fun facts on this bad boy. First one, I'll kick us off. Lon Chaney and Evelyn Ankers, the love interest, did not get along at all. She hated him.
Really?
They did not get along at all. He was apparently pretty hard to work with and was playing a lot of pranks on her. He would go up in makeup and scare her constantly and was always playing pranks on her.
So he was the guy in the movie, in the beginning, he was just that guy. He was a peeping Tom in there too.
He was a peeping Tom. A lot of peeping. We're on the peeping Tom train. But yeah, apparently I don't know if he was malicious or anything, but they just didn't get along. He was always giving her a hard time. And apparently, according to another pod I was listening to, he was drinking a lot at the time, Lon Chaney Jr., and got into some trouble on set and was damaging property and stuff. So the director and the producers gave away his big dressing room to Evelyn Ankers as punishment for him.
Ooh,
and then he got pissed off about that and started taking out his frustrations on her because he was pissed off about it. So apparently he was a little bit difficult to work with and she was not a fan.
Huh.
Yeah. Fun fact. But like I said, I don't know Lon Chaney Jr. Could have been a nice guy, but
I don't know him either. I didn't really like him as the Wolfman.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the movie.
I did enjoy the movie too, but yeah, I wasn't endeared to him.
Yeah.
He was fine, but I wasn't oh man, this guy's the best. You know what I mean? Not like I am with
he's a giant goofball. That's why he just looks like a goof.
He was a goof. Yeah. But he was cool. He was fine. Whenever I think of Boris Karloff, I can't imagine Boris Karloff speaking. When I think of Frankenstein and the Mummy and stuff, he's just always silent, But I know he talks a little. He talks as the Mummy, but Anyway, other fun facts. Speaking of fog, we got a fog machine in here, but it probably doesn't translate onto the video that well.
It just doesn't look like it did.
But Evelyn Ankers, who played the love interest at the very end in one of the final showdowns with the Wolfman, the chemicals that they used for that fog, it wasn't just dry ice. They actually used chemical fog. She was on the ground for so long. She breathed in so many of the fumes, she fell unconscious. And she was like
laughing at that.
She was knocked out.
There's just the fact, like you were asking when I started this, is there chemicals in it? So now I know why you were asking.
That's why I was asking about it. But she passed out, and finally it took someone on the crew being like, hey, where's Evelyn? And they found out she was like knocked out for like 20 minutes unconscious. One more fun fact, and then we'll actually pull them up, and you'll do them here. I'll pull them up right now. There was going to be a scene with a bear where they had a real bear on set, and they actually recorded some of it, and it made it into the movie trailer. But the bear got loose and was really hard to manage and tried to attack Evelyn Ankers. She had to climb up a ladder.
Everyone was just after her, huh?
I know. She had to climb up a ladder, allegedly, to get away from this bear, and an electrician had to pull her away from like the claws of this bear and actually save her. So they cut the scene with the bear, but some of it still ended up apparently in the movie trailer.
I'll look it up.
But didn't make it in the movie. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but let's do IMDb.
In Kurt Siodmak, I don't know, the writer, I guess, original script for the film, whether or not Lawrence Talbot really underwent a physical transformation to a werewolf, or if the transformation simply occurred in his mind, was left ambiguous. The Wolfman was never to appear on screen. Ultimately, the studio determined that Talbot's literal transformation into a werewolf would be more appealing to the audience and thus more profitable. The script was revised accordingly. The remake of the film starring Benicio del Toro leaned into that idea, having a version of Lawrence Talbot admitted to have an asylum of delusions and lycanthropy. So they didn't want to show it?
Yeah, they wanted it to be in his head. I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, that'd be stupid.
That would have sucked. That would have been just some forgettable movie from the 40s. It wouldn't have been a monster movie.
It wouldn't be Wolfman.
It would have been just some psychological thing.
Joker 2.
It would be Joker too. Did you actually see Joker 2?
No, I didn't.
I heard it was horrible. I heard it was so bad.
It's something in that version. Like
Oh my gosh. Keep us going with the fun facts.
Foggy Floor Forest, where many of the film's key scenes take place, one of the largest indoor sets Universal have ever built at the time, occupying the entire soundstage of the studio's backlot. That's kind of cool.
That is very cool. They did a wonderful job with the atmosphere. If I got to give this movie one big compliment, fantastic set design. The set design was like almost like a cliche now for like what a scary movie looks like. It was like, oh, creepy, foggy, Sleepy Hollow, like
Sleepy Hollow, that's a good one.
Love Sleepy Hollow.
Dude, you touched on it. I'm like reading him. Yeah,
Another one that comes to mind, we'll have to find the actor's name, so maybe James can insert the actor's picture and name.
Problem is, I can't find any other record of it.
But at the very end of the scene, spoiler alert, where Larry Talbot, the Wolfman, gets killed and actually dies, and he gets killed by his own father, there's a background actor who witnesses it happen, and he was an old silent film actor. He witnesses Lon Chaney Jr.'s character Larry Talbot die, and he was also in the original Phantom of the Opera and witnessed Lon Chaney Sr.'s Phantom of the Opera die, and he's also in the background, the same actor. So he was like one of the only people in all of the Universal monsters to witness two monsters die.
That's funny.
Isn't that cool?
Weirdo.
Yeah, there he was.
It took 6 hours to apply the makeup and 3 hours to get it off. 6 hours back then, man. Sit in the chair.
Pussy. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that would suck. That'd be tough.
I had one more. Oh, Larry's silver wolf-headed cane, the only known surviving prop from the movie, currently resides in the personal collection of genre film archivist Bob Burns. Byrne, who was a schoolboy at the time, was given the cane head by the man who made it for the film, prop maker Ellis Berman. It has since been sold to a Maryland collector. So that's the only surviving.
Wow, Nicolas Cage owns it now.
You already touched on a lot of facts.
Oh, I do have one more fun fact actually that I heard. Let me shout out the channel actually because it was so good. Nineg. Nineg, really good YouTube channel. He had some fun facts about the Wolfman, and this one was very, very interesting. The Wolfman started production in 1941, October 21st, and finished November 20-something of 1941, and was released like 3 weeks later, December 12th, 1941. So they started actually filming in October, finished in November, and had the movie out in theaters to the public in December.
That was another fun fact I saw on this.
Isn't that wild?
And I was like, first I was like, oh, and then like now hearing it out loud,
It's
I was like, man, they
crazy.
spit that out pretty
So
quick.
October 21st to November 20 something, and then December 12th, the world is watching it. That's crazy.
I wonder how the marketing was for this.
Probably really run and gun. Probably people putting up posters 2 days before. Come and see it. It's scary.
Wolfman.
And then I feel like back then too, movies played for much longer because things weren't streaming, so it probably played for like a whole freaking year.
We know what number was this? Like what from the classic monsters? Which one was this? Like what was first, second?
This was
third?
like 10 years after like the OGs.
Well,
this was like
Dracula
later.
was 1931, right?
Something like that, yeah. This is what it says. Dracula, Dracula's daughter, Frankenstein, the bride of Frankenstein, the mummy, son of Frankenstein, the ghost of Frankenstein, the invisible man, son of Dracula, the mummy's hand, the wolf man, the invisible man returns, the invisible woman, invisible agent, Frankenstein meets the wolf man, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, the invisible man's revenge, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet the invisible man, creature from the Black Lagoon, revenge of the creature walks among us, Abbott and Costello meet the mummy's tomb, the mummy's ghost, and the mummy's curse.
It's a lot.
So you can look up those years yourselves, guys, but this was about number 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably number 5, 4 or 5 game.
Yeah, but I would say there's so many of those, like the Mummy's Hand, the Curse of the Wolfman, all these that are just kind of forgettable, like sequels. It's really the OGs that like really hold up, you know. But I wonder what kind of budget this movie had. Had a budget of around $180,000 estimated in 1941 dollars, and box office gross of $1 million at the box office, grossing approximately $1 million. Though the exact numbers are difficult to verify, The Wolfman became one of Universal's most iconic monster films and had significant cultural impact, contributing to the success of their horror franchise. So let's see, what would that be? It's the equivalent of 19.83 million in today's money with inflation. So multiply it by about 20 times. Crazy, right?
That's crazy.
Good shit. All right, guys. Well, I think we get into alternate castings now. And this was kind of tricky because like we don't know that many movies from the 40s yet. You know a few, but it's kind of hard to just think of actors. So I did a couple actors from the past, and then I also did modern day castings as well.
I did as well. I only did the Wolfman and what was her name? Evelyn?
Evelyn, yeah.
Yeah, I only did those two.
Cool. Well, I'll kick us off, and then James, I'll pass it off to you. So for Larry Talbot, Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman, 1941, I picked Errol Flynn or Humphrey Bogart. Both icons.
I almost had Humphrey.
For modern casting, I picked Michael Shannon from Boardwalk Empire and Superman, or Patrick Fabian, Howard from Better Call Saul. For Claude Rains, Sir John Talbot, his father, I picked back in the day Cary Grant or Boris Karloff. Classic. Are we getting the same ones?
We're getting very similar.
And then for modern times, I picked Pierce Brosnan or Christopher Walken for his father. The J-Man. Good for you, man. You're a werewolf.
Good for you.
Whoa, the wolf. He bit you.
Wow.
Wow. It's crazy. You're getting hair, you're getting mutton chops, and you're getting big teeth. Okay. Evelyn Anchors, Gwen. I picked from the past Donna Reed, who was in It's a Wonderful Life. Mary. And then for present day, I picked Amy Adams because I'm in love with her.
Yeah, you are.
Yep. And then for director, back in the day, director and writer, I picked Orson Welles. And for modern times, I picked Jan de Bont, who did The Haunting with Liam Neeson, Speed, Twister, and Tomb Raider. He directed a whole bunch of stuff, and he was also the cinematographer for Die Hard and worked on a bunch of Tales from the Crypt episodes, too.
Cool. Very neat.
So he would have been legit. That sounded sarcastic. I'll wrap it up, James. For writer, I picked Chris Carter from The X-Files. All right, that's it. That's all I got. And then, James, let me give you your Cabbage Patch Kid here. Alternate cast Wolfman. Here you go, buddy.
All right.
That's really interesting, James. That's really fascinating. Right there, that fun fact.
So Wolfman, Larry Talbot, I did Cary Grant, North by Northwest.
There you go.
In modern day, I did Javier Bardem I just think they had a similar look, like a big.
He and Benicio had a similar look. Yeah, I get that.
Evelyn Ankers. I did Anne Nagel or Nagal. She does a lot of monster movies as well. She was in the Mad Monster. It's like a Wolfman type movie as well.
In the olden days?
Yeah. She did. It was the Mad Monster, and it had to deal with Wolfman.
Mad Monster Party.
Yeah. And for modern, I did. I would say not today's Nicole Kidman, but like Australia's Nicole Kidman, like a little bit early.
I dig it.
Because she had like a curly hair in there and everything. So I picked that one. I did not do director. I didn't think about it. I forgot about doing director. And that was it. That's all I did.
Okay.
Just those two. And I think it was just, like you said, it was kind of hard because I don't really know much acters back then.
Yeah, it's tough to do the past. It's definitely tough to do the past. I'll throw in
I almost had Humphrey. Sorry.
That's okay.
I had Humphrey. But
I was going to say, we'll say Frank Capra, who did It's a Wonderful Life, will direct.
There you go.
We'll
Perfect.
put him in there. I always thought of It's a Wonderful Life, which we should do around Christmas time, as a elongated Twilight Zone episode. When you really look at it.
Yeah, you really look at it.
It's like him dying, essentially. Yeah. It's like a Twilight Zone episode.
neat.
Yeah, we should do that. I'm surprised we never did that. Sarcastic motherfucker. Okay.
You're actually, that's true.
I'm on to something here. I'm on to
Onto
something.
something.
There was something else I wanted to say about the Wolfman, and I totally lost it. Oh, I have a Wolfman story for you. Actually, in that haunted house at Universal Studios. When we were walking through, when that thing still existed, one of the last times we went to Universal Studios, like as a family, I want to say I was probably about like 16, something like that, back when that haunted house was still there. I remember walking through it, and they had a Wolfman segment with like all the fake trees and stuff, and walking through and a lot of blue light, much like this. And I remember my dad walking through it, and the Wolfman jumped out, and the actor overshot and hit my dad in the face.
Oh, I think you told me this story.
Yeah, and my dad like went back and like talked to him and was like, "Hey, dude, you need to be more careful." And like went back, and the guy like straight up like bopped him in the face like with his like wolf gloves.
That's funny.
Yeah, my dad wasn't mad; he was like laughing about it, but he like hit him like pretty hard.
That's crazy. You think about it, like for those attractions, there's an actor that did that like a whole day,
All day,
every day.
exhausting.
That was their job. Yeah.
Exhausting. It'd be fun for a little bit, then it would probably get
A
old.
little old, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they don't do that much often.
Maybe. Now, my favorite of going back to Universal Studios was when they had a Mummy walkthrough. Brendan Fraser, 1999 Mummy, and it was the first time I ever went to Universal Studios.
I have to do this.
Oh man, it was really short lived. I don't think a lot of people got to do it. There's only one video I found online if you can find it. I'm giving you a bunch of editing.
This is okay.
I'm sorry, baby, but anyway, there's like one lone video of this walkthrough experience of the Mummy. If you can find it,
I'm just gonna slap a picture on the screen.
if you can find it, good luck.
Didn't mean to scare you. Of course, Universal Studios is responsible for some of the greatest monsters in movie history, including the latest horror classics, The Mummy, and The Mummy Returns. If you're daring enough, journey through the ancient ruins of The Mummy Returns Chamber of Doom. In this heart-stopping labyrinth, terror lurks around every corner as you experience all the thrills and chills of the mummy's curse. From skeletons to scarab beetles, only the bravest have what it takes to unlock the mysteries of the mummy's tomb.
But anyway, it was so freaking cool, and it was one of the scariest haunted houses I've ever been through. And bear in mind, I was like 9 when I went through it, but it was so freaking good. It was. Oh no! R.I.P. But anyway, it was so freaking cool, and it was one of the coolest, scariest, most intense haunted houses. And to this day, I remember being 9 and being like a little wimp and being scared to go through it. My dad was like, "If you don't go through this, you're gonna regret it." And I did, and I went through it. And I'm so glad I did, because like the next year we went, it was gone. They like did away with the Mummy walkthrough.
That's weird.
And it was so freaking cool. And it's so weird because the Mummy's so lucrative. Like they still have the Revenge of the Mummy ride like 25 years later, which is crazy.
I love that ride.
It's so good. So they should have kept the walkthrough. And also what's crazy about that, shout out to Universal, but also a little bit of criticism for Universal. When they do Halloween Horror Nights, behind the Revenge of the Mummy ride at the California location, there is room for a haunted house. They put haunted houses there. They could have a Mummy walkthrough year round behind it. They could bring it back. Fools. Well, anyway,
we'll see with the Dark Universe thing. Maybe
we'll see. But I just want to say, the Mummy walkthrough was freaking magic. So that was my favorite haunted house of all
I
time.
missed out on a lot of early Universal attractions.
It's okay. And Back to the Future.
But I know I missed
You know
out
what's
on it.
crazy too, though, is I think the next time I went after that, Back to the Future was gone too. It was like this weird sweet spot when I was like 9, and like had I gone, just a few, probably months later, it would have been gone. So it's not really.
They should bring it back because I think this is a rumor or it's actually confirmed that they're getting rid of the Simpsons ride.
They are,
because
yeah.
They don't own the rights.
And here's the tricky thing, though, that I think they're going to do, because all they care about is money. They're going to turn into Pokemon Land.
I think I
Just
told
like
Nintendo. Yeah,
Nintendo.
that's right. I remember looking that up. Yeah,
And I mean, I love me some Pokemon, but I love me Back to the Future a bit more.
yeah.
So
A lot of people love Back to the Future. I don't understand why they won't keep that year round. I don't know.
it's weird. That's one criticism I have of Universal, even though I adore Universal Studios, is they don't hold on to the past and celebrate it enough.
Yeah.
Here's
just a car in the background.
yeah, it's like new stuff, new stuff, new stuff, new stuff. And I think there should be like a whole section of like yesteryear,
Yep, I agree.
But anyway, do you want to get into star ratings in this bad boy?
Yeah, you kick it off.
Well, I got to take into account the era. I got to take into account 1941.
And it's a very short movie.
You know what's interesting about this? This was one of the last movies, if not the last movie made, because it wrapped up in November of 1941, before the United States got involved in World War II. Because Pearl Harbor would have been December 7th, 1941. This movie finished filming November 20-something, 1941, and was one of the first movies released as the United States went into World War II. It was released on December 12th, 1941. So The Wolfman was one of the last movies produced before the world got into World War II, the United States, and then one of the first movies released as the war began and the United States got involved with it. So it's kind of crazy.
That's neat.
And I just came to that epiphany right now. It's real fascinating, right?
Yeah,
It's real interesting.
I'm just giving you shit, but that actually is.
It is interesting. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. But I'm going to say star rating. I mean, he's an icon. Like, even though you can objectively look at it against modern stuff, it's not that great of a movie. But it's one of the OGs. Man, I got to go a solid 4.3 out of 5.
0.3.
Like, this is an OG. Like, I know it's not that great. It's a little boring, but like, it was a trendsetter. It was a trendsetter.
I agree.
I'm going to go 4.2. 4.2 out of 5. 4.2. 4.2.
I have to agree. It's good because like it was slow, but for its time, it's groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I think I'm not big into the point system thing, so I just go with a solid 4 out of 5.
There you go.
I think it's enjoyable. I mean, there's Halloween costumes. There's literally more movies coming out of this too. And It's just like, it's an icon. These movies are iconic. So
And there's a lot of them I watched, like Wolfman, where I'm like, oh, this could have been better. I wish there were more kills. I wish it was more scary.
Yeah.
But it was like the prototype. It's almost like watching a play. It's like you kind of got to remember, like, there wasn't a lot before this. There was no scary monster movies before this, except for there was one called I think it was it was actually Werewolf in London or Werewolf of London.
I know you're talking about.
And it was like an OG Wolfman movie. But aside from that, they didn't have a lot to work on except for the original silent Phantom of the Opera and The Mummy and stuff. And those were all kind of slow in their own way, too.
It's like they're I guess they're horror, but I wouldn't really consider them scary, like you're saying.
No.
Like, they're not really scary, but they're fun. They give you some kind of thrill, and they're memorable.
They're fantasy, and they were figuring things out.
It's perfect for Halloween, spooky.
Definitely. I mean, I wish they could have had some really good scary storytelling and those masks and makeup and stuff at the time, because then there could have been some really good stuff. But I think the beautiful thing about the original Universal Monsters is they gave us the look and the tone and the setting. They didn't have the scares figured out, and they didn't have the pacing figured out yet. They didn't have any good jump scares or anything like that, but they were good at like giving us the environment and the tools to make scary movies moving forward.
Yep.
So yeah, they were the ones kind of laying the foundation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, love this movie, definitely. And we're going to do one more segment before we wrap it up for Halloween. We're going to do ranking all of the Michael Myers Halloween movies. And I guess technically, if you count Halloween 3 in there, just all of the Halloween movies. Yeah. So I am going to kick us off. Kim, if you would be so kind as to pull them up in order, every single Michael Myers Halloween movie. It doesn't have to be just Michael Myers, too, because like I said, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is kind of its own outlier, and I'm going to include that.
Maybe just put a Halloween timeline. I don't know.
So we're going to go...
all Halloween movies.
Whoa. So this was kind of tough. It kind of took me a minute. And the only one I really haven't watched in a while is The Curse of Michael Myers, the Paul Rudd one. That's one I like have not seen in years. I like don't really remember much of it. So I just put it in the middle of the pack because I like vaguely remember it. And then I don't remember much of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, I don't remember that one out.
I don't know if I even
remember
watched
there's some
all of
weird
it.
dream sequence in that. He was trying to get very creative in
It
there.
was one where he was like beating the hell out of people, right? Like Michael was really brutal.
Yeah, Michael was really brutal, but that's the first Rob Zombie one I remember. But
I'm not a big fan of the Rob Zombie Halloweens.
Going back to it, I like the stature of Michael. I like how he's big.
Oh, he's scary.
Yeah, he's scary. But rewatching it, and I'm like, you know what? It's not for me. It's not who the character is.
Yeah, I get that. But anyway, do you wanna read them off, Kim? Read them off in order, and then we can kind of go from there. Sorry, if they're in order, if it's easy for you. If not,
I don't know if they're in order. I think that
It's like a separate timeline. I see what it is. Yeah.
so the first one is 1978 Halloween.
Yep.
Of course, right?
Yep.
And then there's like a split timeline between the first 2018 Halloween and the 1981 Halloween 2.
Okay.
Apparently, I don't know how that works. If you want to explain a bit more.
Yeah, so the different timelines. So basically, if you follow it, I don't know if they'll be able to see what we're seeing, but there was like Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then there was like a whole nother timeline where it was 4, 5, and then the Curse of Michael Myers. That was all a timeline. Then there was a separate one where it was Halloween 1, Halloween 2. Then it's just H2O. It skips over 4, 5, and Curse
They try
and
to
Resurrection.
times, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then there was the whole new timeline where it just goes from Halloween 1 up to the modern Halloween series of like 2018, 2022, and 2023 or whatever. And then there was the whole Rob Zombie timeline and it's Halloween Season of the Witch that were just almost like their own separate things, their own separate entities. Yeah. So based on all that we see there, James, you might have to go kind of a little off the cuff here because I don't know if you wrote yours down. Did you?
I did not write mine down.
Okay, so I'll go through mine and then we'll kind of debate.
I have to just grab something and just do this.
Yeah, and you can also look at mine too. So my notes, not my penis, James.
Was this a good one? Did you want to keep this one?
I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's awesome. So I'm going to say, starting from worst leading down to best, my least favorite Halloween movie, shocker, is going to be Halloween Ends. The most recent one that they did, I thought it was absolute garbage. I think I gave it a half a star when we watched it. It was just, Halloween Ends was an absolute disappointment. Abysmal, terrible movie. My second least favorite one, going down the line from worst to best, would be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the second one that he did. Not hating on it, I just don't remember much of it. I remember bits and pieces, and it just doesn't have the Halloween vibe that I like. Next one would be Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. It was all right. I remember Michael being a kid and hitting some kid with a log, and it was just
For the Rob Zombie one?
Yeah, it was whatever. Like I never really was attached to those. I respect Rob Zombie. I think he's made some cool movies. He's made some great music. I actually went to one of his concerts and he ran by and I slapped him on the back when he ran by. And that was all I did. On the booty. Yeah. Next, I would say Halloween Resurrection. Halloween Resurrection has some fun parts to it, but definitely not the highest caliber Halloween movie. We're going to start from there, getting into slightly better ones. Then it's going to be Halloween 2018 would be the next one for me. Followed by Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which is still fun. And honestly, that one's grown on me a lot. That's what I want to go back to. It's cool. I like the whole concept of it. It was really cool meeting Tom Atkins. I thought that was awesome.
I didn't get to, you did.
Well, I did. And he was a sweetheart. He was a sweet man. And now we're getting into like The Curse of Michael Myers. I put right in the middle because I just vaguely remember having it on VHS as a kid, but I don't remember much about it. I know Paul Rudd was in it. I think that was the last one with Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. And now we're going to get into my top 6. My top 6 Halloween movies are going to be Halloween 5 with the little clown, his niece.
I love those ones. Yeah.
I love them. And then Halloween Kills. I know I'm in the minority here. I loved Halloween Kills. I thought it was badass.
I have to rewatch it. I remember like the kills were excellent.
They were incredible. Yeah, that's the one where he's like killing everyone with the axe and stuff. And I know a lot of people crap on that one, but I don't know why. It had the, they did the special effects to bring back Dr. Loomis in the beginning and everything. I loved Halloween Kills. Michael McDonald's in there in a funny part. And like Halloween Kills was sick. Then my top 4 are going to be Halloween 4. I freaking love that one. Halloween 4 is fantastic. And then Halloween H2O is in my top 3. Number 3, I love Halloween H2O. Then I got to go number 2, Halloween 2. And number 1, the original Halloween 1978. That is my ranking for the Halloween movies.
Which one's the Buster Rhymes one?
That was Resurrection. That was my 4th one down.
For some reason, I always
favorite.
get mixed with H2O with that one. I don't know why.
That was my list right there.
Let's do this. I'm just going to look at this picture and just going to go off of it. How solid. Worst one, I would have to agree. I'm going to go with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
That's your worst?
Yeah, I don't... So it's not memorable, and I remember some weird sequences in
Worse than Halloween Ends?
It's up there. I have to rewatch it. They might be tied, but for what I remember, it's pretty bad. So Halloween Ends will be below Halloween 2. Well, because he just tried to do something really different with the...
I agree. He messed up.
Gosh, man. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go with what you said, Resurrection. Mm-hmm. It's up there. It's silly. I enjoy it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it has a place.
It's goofy. It's fun to see Busta Rhymes trying to whoop Michael Myers' ass.
It definitely has a place.
It's not a Michael Myers movie.
It's good for fun, but when you stack it up against H2O, no way. No way, man.
Gosh, dude, there's so many. That's tough, man. Really, honestly.
It's fun though, right?
What's so I said Resurrection. Curse of Michael Myers. I don't... which one was that?
That's the one with Paul Rudd, and it was Donald Pleasant's final appearance.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I don't remember much either.
I don't remember it, so I'm actually gonna put that down there.
Okay, yeah, I know I had it on VHS as a kid, but I vaguely remember it.
I like 5 and 4 with the girl.
I love
his
5
niece.
and 4. Yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Halloween Kills. Yeah, great kills. You know what? I'm gonna put Halloween Kills back up past 4 and 5.
Really?
Yeah, I just think because it's still... I remember not liking it as much. I just like the kills. I didn't like the story that much.
You're putting it below 4 and 5 or above 4 and 5?
Below, like it's worse.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, and
or actually, I think it might have landed right in the middle for me. Let me see. Right in the middle. I smacked it right between 4 and 5 because last time I watched 5, it wasn't as powerful as I remembered.
Yeah.
So I put Halloween 4, then Halloween Kills, then Halloween 5. But sorry.
That's good. No,
sorry, this is your list.
No, yeah, but I mean, I'm almost on agreement with that. I think it's just been a while since I've watched Kills. Mm-hmm. I mean, because they're just too. They're not fresh, but they are new. But I just like after watching Ends, I'm like, I don't really care to go back to watch this trilogy.
No, I get that. Yeah,
that was Ends was so bad.
Ends was awful.
And then I think it just goes in order from there. It goes to H2O 3, 2, and 1. I think am I missing any of them? I think that's
I think you got them all.
Yeah.
Did you do Season of the Witch number 3?
Yeah. So it goes 3. It goes H2O 3, 2, 1. So yeah.
You like 3 more than H2O?
Actually, you know what? 3 H2O 2, 1.
Wow. So give me your top 5 in descending order from 5 to 1.
5 to 1. That was that's tough now again. Okay. So what did I say? 4, Halloween 4, then H2O. No, sorry, 3, H2O 2, 1.
Okay, we're really similar. So my top 5 were Halloween Kills, Halloween 4, Halloween H2O, Halloween 2, and Halloween 1, the original. Pretty solid, man. Pretty solid.
Sometimes I like the sequel a little bit more than the first one.
Really?
Yeah, that's just because that's a sequel, right? The ghost one, or is it the first one, actually?
That's the first one.
Hey, never mind.
Yeah, sequel is in the hospital.
You know what? No, they used the ghost one in the Rob Zombie thing. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I love the hospital one. That one is with Dick Warlock as Michael Myers. We got to interview him, which is pretty sick. And well, he's very cool. He was a cool
nuts.
He was a cool old gent. And yeah, he was a little bit taller than Nick Castle and apparently played it a little bit differently, but I think he was really menacing in that one. I like how he was killing people with the scalpel and stuff and drowning the chick in the hot tub, and it was sick. Halloween 2 was great. But yeah, I think that'd be a fun little segment.
Is iconic.
Yeah, Michael is our favorite, definitely. So anyway, guys, give us your list. I'd like to hear your guys' ranking in order if you're nerds like us and you love Halloween. Give us your order. Do you agree, disagree? What do you feel about the Rob Zombie ones? How'd you feel about Halloween Ends? Let us know down below. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
All right, so that's the end of the Michael segment, and we're back to the regular episode. Anyway, guys, yeah, happy Halloween. I hope you guys are having fun. If there's anything you want us to watch, drop it down in the comments, definitely. Is there any final thoughts you want to add on the Wolfman before we wrap the episode? And wrap up Halloween 2020 freaking 4?
No, not much. Have you guys, like you said, like, give us recommendations. Have you watched the old Universal monster movies? Have you watched Wolfman? Have you watched Dracula and Frankenstein? Any of those? Which ones are your favorite? Again, just, yeah, guys, leave a comment, subscribe, share us, shout us out.
Definitely. Give us some love, man. Give us some love. And also, if you guys would like to see us do the original Dracula and the Spanish Dracula side-by-side comparison and talk about them both, let us know. I mean, we're probably going to do it anyway, but I'd like to hear if you guys dig those ideas. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, happy Halloween. Be safe out there. Watch out for razor blades in your apples. And keep the spirit of Halloween alive, man. I feel like it's kind of dying out a little bit this year. Like, obviously, everyone claims to be big horror fans, and, Halloween Horror Nights is a big thing at Universal. But looking around, the Halloween vibes just aren't there this year. I
don't feel it. I really don't feel it. I mean, I don't know if it's just us getting older, but I don't think that's it. I really don't think that's it at all.
Yeah.
I just there's Spirit Halloween around. I don't know. Maybe it's just because there's a lot of horror movies that come out and it's just like, it's not that.
Yeah, I haven't felt it this year yet. This is the closest I felt to Halloween vibes, doing this episode for you guys. Like, this is like the closest we've come. Mm-hmm. And then also walking around my neighborhood, there's a couple houses that have Halloween decorations out, and I'm like, okay, cool. There's like a little sprinkling of the magic. And if you go out of the house, also here in Phoenix too, like, it's hot as hell. It's been over 100 degrees consistently deep into October. So I think that's a part of it too. Maybe if we were in like New York or something and like the leaves were changing and stuff, it would feel like it more.
Usually, like, last year I would, like you said, in your neighborhood, you were saying like you saw a couple of things. Like, I barely seen anything. I think the last thing we saw was Kim and I. We were driving around and we just saw a house that was just fully decked out.
That's awesome.
But the rest of the neighborhood wasn't. It was just this house. It literally had every single like prop from Spirit, like the mechanical.
That's ones. Wild.
And it was so loud and noisy, and you just walk through it and everything.
That's fun.
I think I have some footage. I'll probably throw it up on here. But that was like the coolest thing I saw. But so far this entire month has not felt spooky or
not at all. It's just the feeling. Vibe. The feeling's just not there. I was thinking about making a video on the search for the real spirit of Halloween this year because it just seems absent. I know a lot of people say, well, it's because you guys live in Arizona. Yeah, well, we've also lived here, our entire life. Well, James almost his entire life. And I remember being a little guy, and like, even though it would still be warm here, in going into October, it still had a Halloween feel. Mm-hmm. And I would say even up into my 20s, you could still catch bits of that feeling, even though it'd still be like 95 degrees out. There would still be a certain vibe of Halloween. So it's not just the temperature. There's like an actual vibe that is just missing right now. And it's a little strange. And I thought, well, maybe it is just us getting older too. But you talk to anyone and they seem to kind of have the same vibe. Even if you look online, people who are much younger, they're noticing it too. So I don't know, man. I think something's going on. We gotta fight hard to keep the spirit of Halloween alive.
I agree.
So make sure you guys have a Halloween party. And even if you don't, throw in a scary movie. Even if you're by yourself, have some cider, get a little drunk, and watch one of these amazing Halloween movies, or watch some of the original Universal Monster movies, and make Halloween fun for you and your friends and family, and keep it alive.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, man. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got to say. Yep. Be safe out there. Happy Halloween, and be kind.
Rewind.
And subscribe. Peace.
Peace. That was for the Wolfman.
This needs to be